Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back to Morgan Hill Farms. So I am getting ready to plant some ginger as well as some turmeric rhizomes and get these guys to sprout so that I can have my own harvest of turmeric and ginger. I have grown these both in the past. They do extremely well here in South Carolina, Zone 8A, and I'm going to show you guys how I get these guys ready and get them growing inside so that when the weather gets warm enough, I can get them into my garden. And they are a beautiful plant, and homegrown turmeric and ginger is so much more potent and so much better than what you get at the store. So I got my ginger at Costco as well as Sam's Club. They came in 1.5 pound clamshells, and I just about froze my fingers off in the refrigerated produce section trying to find the best looking ginger that I could. The turmeric I actually found in the garden as we were cleaning out some beds and things. The bed that I had grown this in last year, actually there were some roots left in there and they're completely intact. So it looks like maybe I found a way where I don't have to buy ginger and turmeric. Perhaps I can just store it in the ground over next winter. But when you are looking for ginger and turmeric to sprout, you're looking for something specific. You are looking for little nodes on the ginger and the turmeric that are going to show you that these things are going to sprout. A lot of the ginger this year had these areas completely cut off, so it took me a little while to find ginger that was going to work. If you don't have these nodes on here, then your ginger is not going to sprout. So the first thing that I do with my ginger and turmeric, if I've purchased that I do, is I will soak this in distilled or well water for 24 hours. They say that they put a spray on the ginger to keep it from prematurely sprouting in the store, and so I want to get all of that off. Plus it gives this just a really nice amount of hydration so that this can really kind of get a jump start on sprouting. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get our 10-20 trays and we're going to fill those with our seed starting mix. So I've shown you guys that in a previous video. It's just peat moss, there is some perlite in here, there's compost, as well as a bunch of amendments that are going to help to nourish these plants. Now when garlic and ginger grow, they like to grow outward. So don't look for a really deep pot. You're going to want to start them in more of a flat pot, or maybe even like a flat tray or something like I am. The first thing I'm going to do is take a thin layer of my seed starting mix and place it on the bottom of my 10-20 trays. I don't want my ginger or turmeric directly touching the plastic. I do want them on a nice thin bed of soil, so we're going to start with that. My trays here that I'm using are from Bootstrap Farmer. I struggled for years with the thinner black trays that just fell apart, they would split, they didn't hold much weight, so you really had to support them. So if you guys can make the investment into these Bootstrap Farmer trays, I highly suggest that you do. The next thing I'm going to do is take my ginger, and if it's a really, really big piece, I'll go ahead and break it in 2 pieces, but I am still going to leave them relatively large. I want to get as many ginger plants as I can, but I don't want itty bitty pieces because I really do want the rhizome to nourish the sprout that's going to come off of it. So I want to leave enough there to give that plant energy to sprout. Now, after I get them all nicely placed in there and they're not crowded, I'm going to take my seed starting mix and just cover over that. Now, I do want to give this a really nice covering because you're going to find that as you're watering this, some of that seed starting mix is going to want to wash off of the tops of your ginger and turmeric, and you want to always have them completely covered by the soil. Now, ginger, I'm sure you've seen it used in lots of different cooking methods. If you've ever had sushi, you can have pickled ginger. It's a really nice probiotic. You can use it to flavor your Chinese cooking. We use it in a lot of stir fries. You can also make something which is called ginger bug, which is sort of like a natural ginger soda that's fermented. We really like to use it in teas just because of its medicinal purposes. It's really good for digestion, also really good for nausea. If you're pregnant and struggling with that, ginger tea is a great way to go. Now, turmeric is a natural coloring agent, but it's also been used in cooking for over 1,000 years. If you've ever used curry powder, you'll notice that turmeric is one of the main ingredients in that. We like to make a coconut chicken curry here, and it is absolutely fantastic. But recently, you might have seen quite a bit of turmeric supplements and gummies and things like that in your local stores, and that is because it has some great medicinal qualities. It's an anti-inflammatory, it helps with arthritis, anxiety, high cholesterol, and also muscle soreness. There is a compound in turmeric called curcumin. That is what they attribute all of those medicinal qualities to. But before you use turmeric for that, there's a few things that you should know. So turmeric's fat soluble, and it's much better absorbed when you take it with something like eggs or fish, maybe some nut butters or olive oil. Also, black pepper that contains piperine or piperine, that has been shown to increase the absorption of turmeric by over 2,000%. So unless you're taking it with the black pepper and those fatty foods, you're really not going to see the benefits of it. You can take turmeric by eating things like curry. You can also make a turmeric tea with hot water, turmeric powder, maybe some lemon, add a little bit of black pepper in there for the absorption. We like to make turmeric lattes, which are milk with turmeric powder and honey. You can also add some cinnamon into that. That's a delicious way to get turmeric into your body. And taking it this way is going to be much more effective than buying those overpriced gummies or capsules or things like that in the store. So there are a few key things that you want to do when you are trying to sprout your ginger and your turmeric. So the first thing is that we want to keep it nice and moist. We don't want it sitting in standing water, but we want to make sure that it's moist. So I'm going to just take my faucet here, and I am just going to start to water these, and I'm going to give them a nice drink. And I'm going to check on these after maybe about 15 minutes or so, just to make sure that the moisture level is nice and wet. If I find any dry spots, I'm going to want to go ahead and add some more water. My soil mix, like I said, has peat moss in it, and it just tends to absorb a lot of that water. So ginger and turmeric are native to Southeast Asia, which is a tropical area of the world. So this plant loves to be warm, it loves to be moist, and so we want to recreate that here. And it's very easy to do that with just a few simple things. So in order to recreate that tropical environment, you are really going to want to get some heat mats. These are relatively inexpensive on Amazon. They usually come in a 2-pack. And to tell you the truth, I actually got these at our local bin store. We go down there like on a Monday, and everything is $3. Especially around this time of year, people order stuff and then they're just returning it. So if you guys have a store like that that's getting in returns, that's a great way to get seed starting supplies, heat mats, pots, and all that stuff. So to create that tropical environment, we really need to keep our ginger and our turmeric warm. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place my 10-20 trays on these heat mats. Now right now I'm not going to need any lights for these because they haven't sprouted yet. But as soon as I do start to see sprouts emerge from this soil, I'm going to get some of my lights and I'm just going to go ahead and hang them on my wire shelves, and I'm going to hang them fairly low. And that's when you want to be turning those lights on, just when you see the sprouts starting to come out of the soil. Before that, there's really no need to even worry about it. Now, I will say that ginger and turmeric does take a pretty good amount of time to germinate. I don't know exactly, but I want to say kind of like your peppers. You know, if you haven't seen anything in 14 days, maybe kind of dig down and take that rhizome out and look at it. You know, if it's nice and firm and hard, you're good to go. Just let it sit back in there. If it is getting soft and squishy, that means that it is starting to rot. So you'll want to remove that one. But this is how I grow my ginger and turmeric every year. And then once my weather gets really nice and warm outside, our average last frost date is April 15th. I will typically put my ginger and my turmeric out the 1st to 2nd week in May because, like I said, it's tropical. It's not going to withstand any type of a freeze, and my garden sits low, so I can get a frost when other parts of my property are not. And that's it. It's fairly simple. I hope you guys try to start your own ginger and turmeric this year. If you have seen how incredibly expensive turmeric is in the store, you may want to grow it yourself. I think it sells for something like $15 a pound, which is crazy. Like I said, that organic ginger that I bought was about $5 a pound, so that can be kind of pricey too. Here are some ginger and some turmeric that I grew last year. Now I don't have a freeze dryer, so these are not freeze dried. But besides using the ginger fresh, what I do really to preserve this is I slice it thinly and I go ahead and put it on my dehydrator trays. And a food processor makes really quick work out of that. And then when you want ginger tea or ginger powder, you can just powder this up in a blender or something like that. But your ginger tea, you're just gonna add this to some hot water, and it is the spiciest, most delicious ginger tea you've ever had. If you have purchased ginger tea bags from the store, it is nothing in comparison to homegrown ginger. And then the turmeric, I just simply shredded with my food processor. And then I went ahead and dehydrated that on my dehydrator trays. And so you can see, yeah, I've got probably 4 of these guys up in my pantry, but I'm gonna grow more this year just in case. And then I'm gonna try to store it in my garden like we talked about, because that is where I found my turmeric at this year. But anyways, guys, I hope you found that helpful. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.